Welcome once again. This is Court in Session. I'm your host, Justice Hype. No, this isn't the court of law, more like the court of public perspective and factual information, where you or I could be the judge, jury, plaintiff, or defendant. It all depends on your perspective and where you sit. And of course, the most important factor in every case we examine is factual information. Now, on this episode, we dive in as the woke have awoken. Yes, people, the woke have awoken with another case of outrage, selective outrage, as it has been declared by our House of Representatives this week that TikTok should be banned throughout the whole country. And the way our legislative process works, it still has to go to the Senate for them to approve it, and then it has to be signed, in which President Biden has already declared that he stands beside this bill and would definitely sign it into law. And as that's been declared this week and circulated through social media, it's been very interesting to me, the outrage and the sudden concern for civil liberties and the First Amendment, protecting the Constitution, when 4 years ago, just a mere 4 years ago, and I know we live in a time frame in which people have very short selective memories, but just 4 years ago we experienced a global changing, internationally felt situation with the pandemic. And of course, many people were shadow banned, fired from positions, and ostracized for their information, their feelings about the pandemic and its handling, the way that the government went about administering the vaccines. All of this was challenged by many different sectors, even within the government, and they were blocked, shadow banned, and the outrage wasn't there by Team Woke. We didn't see this by a lot of people. Now, of course, there's definitely pushback, and mainly that came from the people who were being shadow banned. But that same crowd that is now on the forefront to save TikTok and save other social media that may be in jeopardy now because of this bill, frankly didn't give a shit about the free speech or the First Amendment, civil liberties being protected of their fellow citizens. But now that everybody is allowed back into the bars, the clubs, the movie theaters, and it seems to be business as usual, something that is dear to many, and of course social media is a huge part of people's lives, whether it be for entertainment purposes, educational purposes, and even also economic and business purposes. Social media has become a part of a lot of people's lives globally, and so now there's an outrage about this, and of course there's been some pushback. There's been several lawsuits that's been filed since this has been declared by the House of Representatives, and to date, a U.S. District Judge, Donald Malloy, has halted the ban, saying it violates the Constitution in more ways than one and oversteps state power. So there you have it. It's being declared already by a judge, and not an appellate court, but a district court, a U.S. district court, that this new bill that the House of Representatives has just signed into law, once again, pending its approval by the Senate and being signed into law by the executive in chief, President Biden, would then go into law. But it's been halted at this point by a U.S. district judge. And it's funny, like, even as you mentioned, the pandemic, what about this gentleman you see on your screen right here? about maybe 4 or 5 years ago as well, was in the highest court, Supreme Court, just trying to do what he's doing here, albeit a different matter in itself, but it still deals with the First Amendment, his right to say a non-denominational prayer in which he didn't call anyone to prayer, wasn't forcing anyone to prayer. As a matter of fact, the students themselves agreed, and parents in the stands agreed, and themselves volunteered to join and into the prayer, and that became an issue that went all the way. He lost his job at the high school that he was coaching in Washington State, and loss of income as a result, and this was challenged, and he won, as a matter of fact, in a Supreme Court ruling in his favor. And what about these gentlemen as well? The gentleman on your left, Minister Farrakhan, being banned off of Twitter and Facebook for his ideology and his information that he's put forth into the public, his use of the First Amendment, which is free speech, and also the right to observe one's religious beliefs as well, once you're not imposing or infringing upon the rights of others to do the same. And then, of course, another controversial figure on your right, Alex Jones. And as we know, he was just lifted off of every platform because of his ideology and the information that he brought forth. And this is not to promote or demote any of their ideologies per se, but just to pinpoint the fact that our government and many of those who are in positions of power have been grossly violating our rights to free speech for many years. And there's been many breaches of the First Amendment on social media, on television, in workplaces, and it has happened for so long. But all of a sudden, because this app that has become so globally known and so essential to people's daily lives, or so they feel that it's just so essential to their daily lives, now there's an uproar, now there's an outrage about its removal. And just so we know, the United States is not the only state that has a country that has an issue with TikTok or has banned or restricted its use. I'll go through real quick just a few. India has completely wiped it off. TikTok being a Chinese-based company by the name, its parent company is actually ByteDance, which was established in 2016 and blew up in 2020, coincidentally, right in the midst of the pandemic, as everybody was pretty much exiled to their homes or within their workplaces at that time. It exploded and gained over 2 billion subscribers, or 2 billion downloads in that period of time. And then shortly a year after, was declared by another website, I guess, which is qualified to rank websites globally, Cloudflare, declared TikTok the #1 website in the world, surpassing Google. Now, we all know how powerful and how popular Google is. So that's saying a lot in terms of its use globally. And just to go down the list of countries, one, India, who has very rocky foreign relations with China. They recently had a border clash in which 200 Indian soldiers were killed in the Himalayas. So their foreign relations, China and India, is very rocky. They don't trust them, and for issues of security, they declared that TikTok be completely banned in their country. All right, Afghanistan, Australia has restricted it from all its government devices. The UK restricted, not banned, but restricted from all government devices. France restricts Instagram, TikTok, Netflix from all government devices. Netherlands, Norway, Belgium, Denmark, Canada. All these countries have imposed restrictions on TikTok that stand to this date. And there's so many issues that not only issues of national security, and this is why I one of the main reasons I was already social media'd out, but one of the main reasons why I just took the pass on TikTok is just the infringement of privacy and personal information. All these apps constantly asking and requesting more and more information. And obviously, like China, if anybody knows the history of China, like one of the main reasons they have become a superpower is because of their ability, their efficiency in piracy, their ability to knock off and steal intellectual property. They have made themselves, their country, into a superpower mainly off of this. This is why you have a Chinatown in New York City. Okay, don't get it twisted. The Africans are just out there peddling the goods. They're not manufacturing or supplying any of these goods. The knockoff name brand purses and shoes and all of these garments that come that are accessible in places like Chinatown and other wholesale districts across the country in major cities, they're all mass produced and supplied by China or Chinese interests, Chinese businesses. So this is nothing new about the piracy, the theft of personal information by China. And this is why I personally, decided I would rather not use TikTok, and why I could see many of our government officials would feel that TikTok is a issue of national security. So it still remains to be seen what's going to happen, but it looks like TikTok is going to be banned. The state of California had already banned it for different issues, for social issues, whereas another thing is the youth and its effect on mental health, as many people are addicted to social media, are addicted to the internet. And then there's the issue of misinformation, which came about, of course, while we were in the pandemic. People trying to, or misinformation and real information that maybe certain people with certain interests in places of power don't want disseminated to the people because of their awareness and what it does to their interests if the people are actually made aware of what's going on. So there's several layers of concern where it comes to not only TikTok, but TikTok as a app right now being focused upon in our government's legislative branch and being banned right now. Very interesting. But like I said, even more so interesting is the sudden outrage by those all of a sudden who it's cool because they're able to get out, go to the bar, go to the clubs, go to the movies, and enjoy their social events again. And they're no longer having to wear masks. Now they're concerned about the First Amendment and the Constitution. And the rights of their fellow citizens. Yeah, right. Get out of here with that, man. At the end of the day, all I'm saying here is let's just keep the same energy across the board. The First Amendment and the Constitution is to protect the rights of all citizens, not just the ones that we're on board with and we agree with 100%, not of just those who are in the popular crowd and we shun the minority, or we don't respect the same First Amendment rights of those within the minority. Part of living in a democratic society is understanding that we're going to have people with differences of opinion. Let me know how you feel. Peace and blessings. I'm out.